How do you take 5 notes and turn those 5 notes into an incredible soundtrack full of songs that sound completely different from one another? Ocarina of Time is one of the most beloved Zelda games, and it has one of the greatest soundtracks of any video game ever in history, and this is one of the reasons why. So many memes. But this is such a fascinating track. And then we get some incredibly simple harmony there, all built on one motif. Yeah. So before we even dive in, we gotta find out what are the 5 notes that we're working with. And in the entire game, all of the motifs that you learn to play on the ocarina are going to be played with D, F, A, B, and then the 5th note is a repeat of D, an octave up. So we get this sound, this bank of notes. That's what we have. And that's what Koji Kondo used to write all of the themes that you learn on the ocarina. And there are 12 of them, and they're all distinctly different. How is that even possible? How can we take such a small bank of notes and turn it into something where each different motif has its own life and and a lot of them are built out into full tracks, like this one, for example. All built off of that. That's the motif that turns into the Lost Woods. So one of the things this is going to show us that I think is just incredibly interesting, and it all points to the genius of Koji Kondo, and that is when we have such a limited note bank to work with, we're inevitably going to start dealing with all kinds of different things like modes, and we're going to be dealing with like functional harmony, basically meaning how can we take this note and make it fit into things other than just like a D minor chord or an F major chord. What are all the different ways we can use a singular note to apply to a bunch of different chords? That's a major question that Koji Kondo had to wrestle with in order to come up with all these different themes using such an incredibly limited note bank. So let's take a look, first and foremost, at Saria's song and figure out what is actually going on here and why is it interesting. Okay, so those are the 2 phrases. Now, the first thing you might be thinking is, well, wait a second, this is more than those 5 notes, and you'd be absolutely correct. And this is part of how the ocarina was used in the functional gameplay versus what Koji Kondo ended up writing. So the motifs that you learn as a player, those 12 motifs are the things that are limited to the 5 notes. But from that, Koji Kondo is able to expand upon that note bank to help create some of these larger soundtrack selections that wind up being so drastically different, despite the fact that they're built on those motifs that you learn in the game. Now that tracks with the actual ocarina, because the ocarina is not limited to 5 notes. The ocarina is a fully chromatic instrument. So anything you hear in the game, you can actually learn how to play on a real ocarina, not just the 5 notes. The 5 note limitation really came from a function of the N64 controller, because it was what allowed the player to use certain buttons to play the motifs that you learn in the game without any modifiers. But funny enough, later on in the game, you can actually make further adjustments to what you can play on the ocarina using modifier buttons. Really, really fascinating element of gameplay, especially for 1998. So the first part of this theme, this is so interesting. It's an F major 7 chord, but we use this B natural, which in the key of F is a sharp 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That would be from the major scale, and then we make that sharp, and we get that. So that's how we wind up with that sound. Now we don't play it quite like this. We actually play it more like this. And if we were to play it just like that, now I gotta go back and listen because I'm actually not sure, do we ever hear a 5th? Because the other way to look at this is an F major 7 with a flat 5. That would be if we just took a regular major 7th chord and took our 5th and just made it flat, drop it a half step. So that's another way to look at this, and it all depends on the context. is a C in there as well. So, to me, this is much more like an F major 7 with a sharp 11, but we get this Lydian sound that is so prevalent in Ocarina of Time. I actually made a video a while back talking about the theme of Ocarina of Time and how it sort of like taught us all what Lydian sounds like without us even realizing. This is another usage of that. So, and then it just resolves to C major. And then we get a second phrase, another resolution, but now in the melody we answer. And that's it. And then we go through a whole section of 2-5-1. Let's hear it. Here we go. Oh, and that's the only thing that steps out of that. So we just get a whole bunch of 2-5-1-6. And I love how at the very end of this one we get an E sus to an E major. And then that doesn't resolve how you would expect it to, which might be like a 5-1 resolution. Instead it goes back to the F major 7. It's so brilliant, and all built off of 3 notes, because that's what we learn in the actual game. That's what you play on the ocarina in the game, and from that, Koji Kondo built that theme. One of the amazing things about Koji Kondo's compositional ability is just how he can see a bank of notes like this and immediately go, how could I get this sound to somehow work with this? Which doesn't seem like it should work. But yet it does, and it's so incredibly beautiful, right? And that comes from knowing that individual notes can be utilized in so many different ways. And how do you learn that? Well, you learn it by developing an understanding of music theory. That's what I use to be able to make these videos and listen to music and immediately tell you how it's constructed. And that's why I built the Better Piano system. The piano is the gateway to understanding all of music and playing really any instrument you want to, because it is the key. It's the only linear visual representation of music that exists. And it's why it's such a powerful tool to learn, not only to play just for your own enjoyment, but to understand music on such a deeper level. And that's why I built the Better Piano system. So often the problem is simply that people quit before they've ever gotten anywhere, and that happens because you're immediately overwhelmed with the theory. You're overwhelmed by all the exercises and the scales and the things that aren't fun to do, and they just feel like a barrier getting in your way of playing the things you actually want to play. And for that reason, I built the Better Piano system in the reverse. My goal is to get you playing the piano as fast as humanly possible. And we're going to do that without ever learning any sheet music or any music theory or anything like that, because the first thing I want you to do is prove to yourself that you can make beautiful music too. Once we do that, we're going to add all those other skills naturally as they come up in a way that's not overwhelming. You can absolutely do this. You just need a system that makes sense and is built in a way that doesn't overwhelm you and that keeps you coming back to the piano day after day. And that's what the Better Piano system is all about. You may notice I don't take sponsors on this channel, and that's because I wanted to build something useful, not sit here and talk about a company that we both don't care about at all. The Better Piano system is my way of doing that, and if you want to check that out, there's a link in the description, and I would be incredibly grateful if you would go give that a look. It's your key to taking your musical skills to the next level, and I would love to be the one to help you do that. So thank you so much for checking that out. Let's keep going. Zelda's Lullaby is one of the most beautiful songs from the entire soundtrack, and it is built off of another repeated 3-note motif. Now, by itself, it doesn't sound like very much, but it's really interesting because if I were to say the 5 notes we're working with make a D minor 6 chord, without hearing that, would you have thought that phrase was in D minor? To me, that doesn't sound like that at all. And when we hear Zelda's Lullaby, we actually hear what Koji Kondo had in mind and what it really was. Oh! It's not D minor at all. It's C major. And this is so sick, because when this chord is C major, the melody note is the major 7th, and that's just so beautiful. come on. We get this like D major over C, which brings us back to the Lydian sound that we've been talking about that's been so important in Ocarina of Time, because we're basically creating a C Lydian scale. So we get... Oh, it's so beautiful. Now where do we go? Oh! Ah! So we sit here for a while. Check that out. So we go from the C and we climb down chromatically. We get B minor. And I love this. This is B flat diminished, but our melody is the major 7. So really what we're creating here is B flat diminished major 7. It looks like this. Really crunchy chord, but to talk about a beautiful chord to transition from to go to A minor 7, which is a 2-5. And this whole thing feels like it's in G major, except our phrase starts on the 4 chord, which is that C major 7. It's so beautiful. Now, where does it go from here? There's the 3. Same chromatic down. Melody changes a little bit. Oh. That was so simple, but so beautiful. That's so gorgeous. But that F major 7 chord kind of comes out of nowhere because we've been in G major, so the second we get F, well, that's not in the key of G. F sharp is in the key of G, not F. So that's a nice chord that just sticks out to our ears. Oh, man. Unbelievably beautiful, all built on that motif, sticking with our note bank that is available to us in game. It's unbelievable. Here's another one that just demonstrates how incredibly diverse we can get despite being so limited in the notes that are available to us. Check this out. That is so sick. This is sort of what we start with. So this one is built on another ultra simple motif. We get the D, a minor 3rd, and then jump up to the octave D. And look what we can create from that. Think about how incredibly diverse of a piece that is from but it's built on motifs using the exact same notes. This one, it feels like it's a lot clearer. You can hear the motif. Whoa! Whoa! What? Oh, that is so sick. Okay, so first of all, we just start with this like just D minor. That's it. Now this one is also in D minor, the way that Song of Storms is, but obviously a completely different vibe, completely different motif, right? And then go from D minor to E flat major. And then up to E half diminished. A7 sharp 5 to A7. Now watch this, we're gonna get a whole new section from D minor, F major over C, G over B, B flat. Oh man, D minor. Oh no, over A. Oh, whoa. Okay, hold on. We're not there yet. Where did that go? So we walked all the way down. F major over C, G over B, B flat, D minor again. So we go back to the one chord, but it's over A, and then what do we do here? There's the D minor over A. I think it's G7 to A7 to D major. What? That's so crazy. So we walked all the way down, D minor, F major over C, G over B, B flat major, D minor over A, and then we get a G dominant chord to a 5, big 5 chord, A7, complete with the sharp 5, and then back to the 1, only we don't go to major, we don't go to the D minor, we go to the D major. All on... That was the motif that started this whole thing. The thing that's so incredible about all of this music is like Koji Kondo not only is working with not as limited of a system as an NES or an SNES. This is the N64, which had a lot of capabilities that were brand new for a console, but it's still not like putting an MP3 of a beautiful orchestral track into the game. So he still had to work around what was available and to come up with all these different ideas just from a compositional standpoint. That's what's so crazy about Ocarina of Time, is we have these super simple motifs built on a limitation of 5 notes, and yet somehow we can still wind up with such incredibly diverse sounds and songs that came together to build one of the greatest soundtracks of any video game ever. And in addition to the compositional brilliance, Ocarina of Time had one of the most advanced versions of adaptive video game music that had ever been done up to that point. We're going to talk about that in the next episode, so stay tuned and we'll see you then.